Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Yes.
Today we are going...
Into C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, into the world of C.S. Lewis.
That's right.
This time...
Not to Narnia.
Not to Narnia.
Yeah, we're not heading to Narnia or space today.
No.
We're going to be looking at...
Getting up close and personal with the man himself.
Through a very specific lens.
Yes, a very special introduction to The Weight of Glory and Other Addresses by Walter Hooper.
Yes. And that's what's so fascinating about this, is that it's not just an academic looking at C.S. Lewis's work.
Right.
This is somebody who got to know him personally.
That's right.
And lived with him for a time.
He lived with him for a time.
And so it's like we get these...
insights.
Yeah, these really rich insights into his personality.
His habits.
His habits, his sense of humor.
His faith.
Yeah, and so what we're going to try to do today is we're going to kind of look for those little gems in this introduction.
Absolutely.
And then tie that to some of his bigger concepts, like the weight of glory.
And transposition.
Yeah.
So it's like we get to see the man behind the curtain a little bit.
Exactly. And what makes it so valuable is that he saw firsthand Lewis's warmth and his wit and his deep faith.
Yes.
These weren't just abstract ideas to C.S. Lewis. They were woven into the fabric of his daily life.
Exactly. So it wasn't just theory, it was lived experience for him. And so Hooper actually talks about how he initially expected his time with Lewis to be very brief.
Like a tea party.
Yes, like a very polite tea party.
Right.
And it ended up being 3 months of living with him and learning from him.
That's like fate intervened.
Yeah.
To give Hooper a deeper understanding.
I love it. And Hooper shares a funny anecdote about this.
He does.
About this kind of cultural immersion that he had.
Yes.
And how, you know, he was American and he asked to be shown the bathroom.
Uh-oh.
And he forgot that in Britain, bathroom has a different meaning than it does in the United States.
So did he use the word bathroom?
He did.
Oh.
Yeah, he asked to be shown the bathroom.
Oh, dear.
And Lewis, being the playful wordsmith that he was, took him to the bathtub.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and teased him about American euphemisms.
That's fantastic.
But I love that because it's like, this is C.S. Lewis, this giant of literature and theology, cracking jokes about bathroom etiquette.
I love it.
It makes him seem so human.
It does.
And approachable.
Approachable.
Right. But Hooper also reveals a more introspective side of Lewis.
He does.
Particularly when it comes to his personal habits.
Yes, like his tweed jacket with a hole in the pocket.
Yes.
Right-hand pocket.
Constantly being patched.
Constantly being patched.
Because he kept...
dropping his pipe in it.
Yes, his still-lit pipe.
Still lit.
Into this pocket.
And burning holes.
Burning holes over and over again.
A classic.
It's such a classic image of the absent-minded professor.
I know.
Lost in thought.
Oblivious
to the world around him and the smoldering in his pocket.
It's very endearing.
It's very endearing. And there's this other great story from Lewis's time in the hospital.
Oh, yes.
Where Hooper was sneaking him matches.
Against the nurse's orders.
Yes.
That's great.
And so Lewis, catching on to this, would playfully call Hooper a traitor.
A traitor.
When the matches were inevitably confiscated. I love that.
That's wonderful.
It shows his mischievous side, but it also highlights like his deep need for connection.
For sure.
Even in the face of illness.
Absolutely.
He didn't let the rules or restrictions dampen his spirit or his sense of humor.
That's right.
And Hooper noticed this incredible ability that Lewis had to comfort others.
Yes.
Even while dealing with his own pain and worries.
Absolutely.
And he had this great line that he said that Lewis would face his problems head on.
Okay.
But after doing what he could, he would just leave the matter to God.
That's great.
And get on with his work and pleasures.
Such a good lesson.
Yeah, it's a profound lesson.
It really is.
In itself.
Balance. Taking responsibility, but also surrendering control.
Right.
Trusting in a higher power.
And then I think maybe the funniest story Hooper tells is what he calls the music room incident.
Oh, yeah.
You familiar with this one?
I am.
Okay.
So it involves a lorry full of books?
Yes, a lorry full of books, a sleeping nurse.
Oh, my goodness.
And a very mischievous C.S. Lewis.
Oh, this is going to be good. Let's introduce this guy. Lewis has got this lorry full of books delivered, and Hooper's like, where are we going to put all of these?
I know, a house already packed with books.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Lewis just kind of, with a twinkle in his eye.
I love it.
Directs everyone to the music room.
Oh, no.
Which is occupied by Alec, a live nurse.
Oh.
Sound asleep after a night shift.
This is not going to end well.
No. And they proceed to very carefully and meticulously stack all of these books
Around the sleeping nurse.
around him, essentially building a wall of literature
That is amazing.
that completely entombs him.
I can just imagine waking up and being like, what? What is going on? And I mean, this is a prank that only C.S. Lewis could pull off.
Exactly.
So bookish.
It really is.
And clever.
I love it.
But what strikes me about all these stories isn't just their entertainment value, it's what they reveal about Lewis's humility.
Yes.
Which seems almost paradoxical given how famous he was as a writer.
You're right, because Hooper even talks about how Lewis would discuss his own books as if they were written by a complete stranger.
Yeah, like he was detached from his own fame.
Yes.
It's like he didn't let it go to his head.
It's like he had this deeper understanding of what really matters.
Yes.
Which brings us to his famous essay, The Weight of Glory.
Yes.
Where he really explores this concept of glory, not in a worldly sense,
Not fame or recognition.
but more as like a good rapport with God, an acceptance,
Wow.
acknowledgement from the divine.
So it's like his personal humility was a reflection of his spiritual understanding.
Exactly.
He wasn't seeking earthly praise because he had his eyes set on something much bigger.
Much bigger, much more profound.
And in The Weight of Glory, he takes this concept further
He does.
by suggesting that heaven itself,
Is a weight,
yes,
a burden of glory.
a weight or burden of glory, but also the fulfillment of our deepest longings.
Yes.
So it's this fascinating paradox, right? It's
Mhm.
like the joy and responsibility of being fully known and loved by God.
And it really makes you rethink those conventional notions of heaven, like fluffy clouds and harps.
Right. It's not just sitting on a cloud playing a harp,
No, it's about this encounter with the fullness of God.
which can be awe-inspiring, but also weighty.
And I think that ties into another concept that comes up a lot in Hooper's introduction and into Lewis's writing,
Okay.
which is transposition.
Okay, break this down for me. What exactly is transposition?
Essentially, it's this idea that our earthly experiences are kind of like transposed versions of higher spiritual realities. So think about it like comparing a simple drawing
Okay.
to the breathtaking landscape it's trying to depict.
Oh, okay. So like if heaven is this ultimate reality, then our earthly joys and longings are like echoes or glimpses of that greater fulfillment.
Exactly. And Lewis uses a really helpful analogy to explain this.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
The analogy of music.
Okay.
So imagine a piano piece that's derived from a grand orchestral score.
Okay.
The piano version is obviously less rich, less complex,
Right.
but it still conveys the essence about the core melody of the original.
So our earthly experiences are kind of like that piano piece.
Yes.
They're limited and imperfect, but they're still pointing to this greater, more glorious reality
Exactly.
that we can only fully grasp in the hereafter.
Exactly.
And this transposition idea isn't just some abstract theological concept.
No, it's very practical.
Yeah, it has implications for how we view our everyday lives. And that's what I love about these deep dives, right?
For sure.
Connecting these big ideas to the real world.
Well, think about this. If transposition is real, then even the most mundane things,
Okay.
our relationships, our work,
Yeah.
our experiences of beauty, they could become hints or pointers to something deeper, something transcendent.
It's like seeing the world through a whole new lens.
Exactly.
Where every moment can reveal something about the nature of God and our ultimate destiny.
Yes, it brings a sense of purpose to everything.
Yes, and meaning to even the most ordinary things.
It challenges us to look beyond the surface for those deeper connections.
It's a beautiful and challenging idea,
It is.
but sadly Hooper's time with Lewis was cut short.
Lewis died in 1963 quite suddenly, which put an end to their plans to collaborate and to Lewis's hopes for retirement.
Ah, I see.
And Hooper reflects on this with a really poignant observation.
What's that?
He says that sometimes a small amount of something precious is grand enough.
That is beautiful.
It is.
It's a bittersweet reminder that we should cherish the time we have with loved ones
Yes,
and find gratitude in the midst of loss. But what a gift Hooper gave us
he did.
by sharing these glimpses into Lewis's life.
He really did. And although their time together was short, the insights he gleaned from those 3 months give us such a rich and complex portrait of the man.
Yes, the man behind the legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is like we got to spend some time in his inner circle, getting to see him not just as this giant of intellect,
Right.
but as a real person
A human being.
with quirks and a sense of humor and real compassion.
And that's what I love about this deep dive. We've gone beyond the surface
Yeah.
and gotten to see him for who he really was.
So as we kind of wrap things up, what were your biggest takeaways from exploring Lewis through Hooper's eyes?
I think for me, it's just seeing how his life really mirrored the ideas in his work.
Okay.
Like he didn't just write about humility and faith.
Yeah.
He actually lived them out.
He embodied those things.
Exactly. He wasn't just talking the talk. He was
Yeah.
walking the walk.
Yeah, and that's why his work is so enduring, right?
Yes.
It resonates because it's authentic.
It's real.
So speaking of resonance, let's talk about transposition for a minute.
Okay.
This is such a mind-bending idea, but how can we actually apply it to our own lives?
Well, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's not just an abstract idea.
Right.
It's something we can actually use to see the world differently.
So how would you challenge our listeners to embrace this idea of transposition in their everyday lives?
I would say, think about those times when you've experienced a profound sense of beauty,
Oh, okay.
like watching a sunset
Yeah.
or listening to a piece of music that really moves you.
Uh-huh.
What if those are, like Lewis suggests, little hints of a greater spiritual reality?
Like little cracks in the mundane,
Yes.
allowing us to see something bigger.
Glimpses of something transcendent.
So what if we started paying attention to those glimpses,
Right.
looking for the echoes of the divine
Yeah.
in our relationships, in our work, even our struggles?
It's like a spiritual treasure hunt.
Yes.
Finding those connections between our earthly experiences and the spiritual realm.
And for those who want to dive even deeper,
I highly recommend checking out Lewis's essay on transposition. He explains it all so beautifully.
consider that your homework assignment,
That's a good one.
but not the kind that feels like a chore,
No,
more like a thrilling adventure.
an invitation
Yeah.
to explore the deeper mysteries of life.
And as you embark on that adventure, remember C.S. Lewis not just as the intellectual giant,
Yes,
but as the humble, witty, compassionate human being.
that Hooper, so vividly portrayed.
He was a man who found joy in the ordinary,
He was.
faced his challenges with grace, and never stopped seeking truth.
And that's an inspiration to us all.
Yes. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of C.S. Lewis.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've gained a new appreciation for the man behind the works,
And a desire to keep exploring.
and a spark of curiosity to delve deeper into those profound concepts he shared with the world.
So keep looking for those glimpses of the transcendent,
Yes.
those whispers of the divine.
Woven into the fabric of our lives.
Happy exploring, everyone.
See you next time.